It's hard to imagine this is how 2020 started. But across the world, dozens were falling ill with a mysterious virus that would ultimately change life as we know it.
Chinese health authorities are still working to identify the virus behind a pneumonia outbreak in the central city of Wuhan.
At least 59 people are believed to have been sickened by the new virus.
Tonight, U.S. airports on high alert, screening passengers for symptoms of a deadly new virus.
I'm very concerned. Now that you brought it to my attention, I'll stay away from most people wearing masks.
The U.S. didn't confirm its first coronavirus case until January 21st, though we know now it's possible the virus could have been spreading as early as December 2019.
I have today declared that the coronavirus presents a public health emergency in the United States.
By the time the White House partially banned travel from China, infection levels start to explode all over the world.
It has been confirmed that there are 2 cases now in England.
Egypt's health ministry has announced a first confirmed case of COVID-19 in Africa.
The latest Italian health report here says there have been more than 50 new cases overnight.
At the end of February, the U.S. reports its first death and confirms 25 cases. But within days, that number swells to over 1,000. And this is where things really go downhill.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States.
For days, this has been the picture of America.
Showed up today and it's just chaos.
Shortly after President Trump declares a state of emergency, the White House Coronavirus Task Force tells people to avoid bars, restaurants, and groups of more than 10 people. They call it, quote, 15 days to slow the spread.
With several weeks of focused action, we can turn the corner and turn it quickly.
States soon start closing schools and announcing stay-at-home orders.
Stay at home.
Stay home, stay safe.
Quite simply, stay at home.
The city supports all essential workers who are showing up every day.
It's still March.
In late March, Congress signs off on a massive $2 trillion stimulus bill as New York emerges as the global epicenter of the outbreak.
In the New York area, a lot of hospitals are already running out of beds, masks, supplies, and testing materials.
If you don't have a healthcare crisis in your community, please come help us in New York now.
The FDA approves the first COVID rapid test on March 27th, but they later warn it can produce inaccurate results. Just one of several testing problems still ongoing today. As we enter April, Wall Street wraps up one of its worst quarters in history. And throughout the month, unemployment skyrockets to 14.7%, a level not seen since the Great Depression. The CDC also starts recommending face masks to prevent more infections. At this point, daily cases start to fall ever so slightly, and deaths also significantly decrease. More states start reopening.
You can see behind me, there are tons of people here on the beach.
And at the end of the month, the U.S. crosses one of many tragic milestones, 100,000 deaths from COVID-19. By the middle of June, infection levels start rising again in nearly half of U.S. states. 2 major milestones. The U.S. hits 200,000 COVID deaths, but across the world, over 1 million have lost their lives. Americans also increasingly rely on food banks as unemployment numbers remain twice as high as pre-pandemic levels. Only continue to skyrocket from there. This latest wave makes the CDC urge Americans not to travel for Thanksgiving, though millions do anyway.
Good to hear there. Dr. John, we got to talk about travel because a TSA spokesperson is saying that the agency has screened almost 1 million airline passengers yesterday. So here we are again. It's the holidays. People are ignoring advice from health officials. They are still traveling. What safety tips do you have for our viewers who still plan to travel or to get together with people that they do not live with over Christmas?
And, Allison, you and I have talked about this, and we both get it. People want to be with family and friends. And the big advice is to not travel, not to be with anybody who's not under your roof right now actively. But people are going to travel. So if you do travel, just take those extra precautions. Remember, the airplane itself is not that big of an issue. It's the airports before and after the airplane that can be the big issues. So make sure you social distance, make sure you wear a mask, wash your hands, those things that we always talk about. And when you're going to somebody's house, do the same things, whether it's a relative, whether it's a loved one or a friend, if it's somebody who has not been actively living under your roof for the past couple of weeks, treat them like you would treat strangers. Social distance, make sure you're wearing masks indoors, ventilate if you can. Those 4 W's we constantly talk about are things you're going to need to do as well. And then you have to remember, going back, you could be carrying it with you. So you have to be careful there. We saw the big bump in cases after Thanksgiving. We're going to see a big bump in cases after this holiday season as well. Yeah. We don't want it to be any bigger than it is right now. So again, just taking those precautions. Sure, enjoy the holidays, but
not the holiday season Katie Callaghan had in mind.
Never did I think I'd be spending Christmas inside the hospital. And especially with COVID.
The 28-year-old from Mansfield is vaccinated, but she developed a severe COVID illness because her immune system is weak. She'd recently had surgery.
It hurts to breathe. It feels like my lungs are on fire.
She has spent the last 5 days battling the virus alone on Christmas, FaceTiming family from her hospital bed at Baylor Scott & White All Saints Medical Center in Fort Worth.
I would say the hardest part is being alone. I really wanted to be out with friends and family, but it just wasn't meant to be this year.
COVID cases are climbing in North Texas and stay positive.
Yeah, my Christmas wish is to be able to make it to 2022. I just want to get better.
Her hope is to make it home just in time to bring in the new year.
Start this morning with Christmas. Now just 5 days away, COVID concern and cases surging with fears that holiday travel is about to make things even worse.
Yeah, the numbers speak for themselves. Let's check it out. Over the past week, the U.S. is averaging more than 133,000 cases per day. That's up from around 70,000 at the start of November.
And that spike is leading to a number of schools and colleges to cancel in-person classes and move back to remote learning. The famed Christmas Spectacular over at Radio City now shut down for the season. Pro sports leagues being forced to postpone games.
Then on Capitol Hill, 3 high-profile breakthrough cases.
For a world of trouble, I'm afraid, in the next month or two. It is just, raging through the world, really.
And with Christmas just days away and millions traveling, officials telling vaccinated Americans to get boosters, wear masks, and avoid crowded public spaces.
I think people just need to be prudent. Clearly, when you travel, there is always a risk of increased infection.
New York hitting new COVID records for 3 consecutive days, with a growing number of breakthrough cases. On Broadway, nearly a third of shows canceling performances due to outbreaks. The Rockettes' Christmas Spectacular going dark for the rest of the season. SNL scrapping much of its last show of the year with no live audience and no musical guest.
Whoa. Should people be out and about, or should we once again be hunkering down, not traveling, and avoiding those large family gatherings? Is duplicating every 2 to 3 days and escaping vaccines at a much higher rate than Delta. It is a recommendation that many families are already implementing.
For first holiday with family last night. It's a cousin Christmas. We have been getting together with my side of the family forever.